Good evening, Bulls fans. It is not Sunday. It's not 9:30-ish, but John is here. So we got that going for us. I am Matt Gritzmacher. I can once again say that I'm, as always, joined by John McWhinney. This is the Olympic Rundown from the guys at ubbullrun.com on Blue Bowl TV. I should make sure to say we're here. We got a weekend to talk about. Kind of a tough weekend for Bull Run's attention to Olympic sports. I'm sorry to say. I was in Boston watching the football team. John was off living his life, watching Luke Cage, basically.
Wow, way to make it seem like I have no life.
You have a great life of going to networking alumni events and already having a job and just using the alumni events for meals, which is great.
No, not meals, free beer.
I wasn't gonna say that of you. I was just gonna leave it at meals. But
I was gonna say I'll call a spade a spade. I go. It says, class of 2016 is free, and it says, you get 2 free beers. Sign me up.
2 free beers.
I don't care. I don't care where it is, what we're doing. Free beer. Sign me up.
John's just already got his decently paying job, and he doesn't need to network as much. But there he is getting beers. That said, much better weekend for Olympic sports than last weekend when I did the show myself and just kind of had 35 minutes of grumpiness. We got 3 games between men's and women's soccer, 3 shutouts. We got first MAC win of the season from volleyball, thanks to one of the finest performances a UB volleyball player has had in years from Cassie Shado against Akron. We got solid results from cross country, maybe not the stunning top 10 finishes we've seen from the teams in the last couple of years of Paul Short, but really solid results. Some interesting stuff happening in the results there we'll talk about in time. And that's all we got to talk about. 3 games, 3 shutouts for soccer, first win, and then also a loss for volleyball, and then cross country, some pretty solid results. So we very rarely start with women's soccer, and so we're going to today. It might mean that our show is a little front-loaded. But, John, I made a point of saying last week and the week before, 2 games to start the season on the road at Miami and at Ball State. Tough games. In a vacuum, I didn't really expect a win out of either of them. It would have been great. In a vacuum, I look at a 1-0 loss at Ball State. I look at a 1-0 loss at Miami and say, okay, not that bad. But then you look at an 0-2 start to the season, very little offensive movement, oh crap, what are we dealing with? Coming in this weekend, UB needed to beat Bowling Green, needed to beat Toledo, even the record at 2-2. Those are 2 teams who are better than they have been the last couple of years, but UB has to be better than them. And they were. Pair of shutouts, beat Bowling Green 2-0. Midfield really had no trouble controlling possession in that one. In that win, they outshot Bowling Green 13-5. In the Toledo win, a little bit tougher offensively, but got a 1-0 win. Moira Peachy with her first goal, and they outshot Toledo 11-5 in that one. So, things got going. Laura Dougal, 2 more shutouts, teams up to 5, back up to 500 record, and they're even in the MAC and can now build on it. So, I don't know what you got to say, but I should let you talk.
Honestly, I didn't really follow much with the Ball State and Miami games as far as actually watching. I mean, they were away, so I probably only had live stats anyway. Ball State, I knew they were going to be tough. They're one of the few women's soccer teams not named UB that I actually know much about. I do know that they have one of the best defenses in the MAC, if not the best. I don't know if I am wrong in saying that. If I am, feel free to correct me. Okay,
I muted myself, and then you. I do not want to correct you, but I muted myself, and then my mouse didn't work.
You could just sat there and looked at me. I'm like,
I was looking at the big red blotch on my screen that tells me that I'm still muted, even though I'm trying to talk. No, you're correct. They have a very size-heavy and physical defense that works really well.
And UB has had I'll call. It's not a secret that UB has had trouble putting the ball in the net. Yeah. And I kind of figured, okay, Ball State, okay, 1-0. 1-0's not bad. The defense held well. Same thing, Miami. defense held well, which is encouraging to me because there's three, three newcomers on the back line,
Yep.
and they'll be there for a while. So I'm looking forward, thinking things are going to be good. But as of right now, the offense is still what concerns me, especially
Yeah.
against the States and the Miamis. That I know once we hit MAC tournament time, that we'll have to go through one of them
Yep.
to get the
I
championship.
said at the beginning of the season after the Penn State weekend that I still felt at the time like this season was going to be a lot of 1-0 and 0-0 games, and I still think that's true. And I said, after the Canisius game and around then, that Carissima Catrona can do a lot, but the MAC defenses are good enough that someone else is going to have to at least be a threat. And I don't think that's happened yet, and that's all right. Um, we got only one of our 3 goals this weekend came from Catrona. Kniper scored the game winner on a corner kick against Bowling Green, and Petrie scored the winner against Toledo. So that's
Mhm.
exciting. Like, way to go.
And that was
Um,
Petrie's first career goal,
First
right?
career goal, yep, which, um,
Seems odd to say that,
yes, it
given
does.
given how highly touted she was.
Yeah. She's been, I think she took a big step forward from last year to this year. I will say that. I think she took a big step forward. It's still, Petrie's a different player than Meg Geeson was, and I hate to go back to 2014, but I really feel like Geeson is exactly what Burke wants in an attacking midfielder. And
Hmm.
Petrie's a little bit more willing to be creative and with the ball on her feet. And as a result, there's both that and Petrie doesn't have a hold up forward like Geeson had Katie Roberts. And so as both of those, like, the ball goes to Petrie a lot and doesn't come out still with UB possession. But on the flip side, you can't funnel the ball to the wings constantly to Nicole Garretts and Julia Benatti. She's got to get involved. And I think
Hmm.
she's been better at that this year than last year. And I'm excited to see what happens. Both these games were home games. I just haven't watched them yet. I'll probably watch them tonight, to be honest. Um, but I'll take that. What I really like about that is they played Toledo scoreless in the first half, and then that goal from Petrie came 2 minutes into the second half. Like, that's really good timing. You capitalize on an adjustment or something, take it, and then you've got all the momentum right out of the break. And if I look at the play-by-play, I haven't looked at it yet, but I would guess that, yep, Toledo did not register a shot for the first 28 minutes of the second half. So they scored that goal and uh, took all the momentum,
Hmm.
and actually, yep, they only had 3 shots in the second half. So I just really like everything about that goal. Um, it looks like, um, 1 second, Dana Little started the second half. That's what I'm keying in on at this moment. Was she a starter for the game? She was. So that is a flip from Bramble, who's
Well,
starting earlier this season. But
something that I also, Benatti didn't play the last 2 games. She didn't
oh,
play Toledo and Bowling Green.
you know what? I didn't even notice that, and that was foolish of me. Let me go back to the schedule and see if she came out at a weird time against Miami. Um,
Yeah,
Miami and Ball State being road games, I didn't really get to hear from anyone if something bad happened. She started the second half at Miami, took a bunch of corner kicks. Um, Looks like she played the second half as you'd expect against Miami. So she
hmm.
might have got, you can get dinged up in practice, you can get dinged up in a lot of places. Um, but I honestly didn't notice that, which speaks to my preparation, I guess. Um, given that she didn't play and they still got 2 wins and 2 shutout wins, and especially with the midfield control they had against Bowling Green, that makes me feel good.
Hmm.
They put a lot on target in this game too, or this weekend. Against Bowling Green, they had 13 shots and 5 of them were on goal. I'm good with that ratio. And against Toledo, that's recap. I want box score. Um, I think it was 11-5 as well. 11-7, so that's even better. Um, Petrie had 3 shots and all 3 were on goal. I'd bet even aside from the goal, that was the. I'm eager to watch it now. Probably one of the better games she's had in a UB uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Nice. Also, they're not making Dougal work too hard. She had 3 saves in the Toledo shutout and 3 in the Bowling Green shutout. That's good. I think she's a great goaltender, but definitely the times when they've lost, it's been because she's facing 6, 7 or more shots a game. And I think it's tough for any goaltender to do that regularly. She's certainly a great games where she stops 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But it's always going to be easier when she only has to face 3.
Mm-hmm.
Always. So we'll see. I wish I had had time to watch these games on replay before the show, and I just didn't. Maybe I'll put together both homes. So I'll put together a goal by goal piece sometime this week on the goals, and then I'll be able to talk more about the game as well.
Yep.
Generally, I don't think anything is much new for women's soccer right now out of this, John. I think it's good. I think I'd be more surprised if they lost these 2 and were even in more dire situations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that they won. I think it's good. It shows that they can bounce back, and that's really excellent. Like I said, at the top of the year, I was worried that we'd see a lot of 1-0 and 2-0 games. And even when we started to see some bigger score lines out of the Bulls, I said a lot of offense is coming from Crotona right now, and people are going to be able to stop that. So we'll see. Go ahead.
Well, it sounded like you were kind of starting to wrap up.
That's why I'm letting you go in case you have something more to say.
They had. Well, I was going to kind of finish wrapping up. They have two games this week. One at home against Ohio, which I think they probably should win. I'm just looking at. I'm looking at the standings right now. Ohio's 2-8-1, and they're 0-4 in the MAC. And then Kent State on Sunday should be another very tough game.
Very tough. I think that Kent State, for as good as they are, Buffalo's a matchup problem for them, but very tough.
They, since their season opening loss to Ohio State, they have not lost.
Yeah, no, they are very good, and they have one of the top 2 offensive players in the conference. Preseason, I was calling her the best, but Alex Pelafas from Central Michigan has been stellar as well. But Jenna Hellstrom is an absolute terror for Kent State up on offense. I do think that Kent State's strengths, it's a battle of strengths versus strengths. UB didn't have a lot of trouble with them last year, and Coach Burke said that's a very good MAC team. We're going to be hearing a lot of them. And then they caught fire. We owned that tiebreaker over them. They obviously didn't advance to the MAC semifinals. Or maybe they did and lost to Akron, which would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
They're a very good team. I honestly, as far as I'm concerned, it's them and Ball State preseason were my favorites to win the MAC. Central Michigan's looked very good. But I do think their strengths match up favorably for UB. And if they could get a road win there, even a road result, that goes a long way towards helping out the drain on the record right now from those 2 road losses, neither of which were bad losses last weekend. But Ohio had better be a win, because the Ohio game in 2015 remains the only home loss of Coach Burke's head coaching career.
Yeah, and we're already into year three with one home loss.
Yeah, which is awesome. But just let Ohio disappear off the face of the earth. And the first step to doing that is beating them in soccer.
Yeah.
Women's soccer.
I think we can shift gears now and
sure.
talk about volleyball, which they had just the two Akron and Ball State were this past week, and I was following along on Twitter with the Akron game. That was the 29th. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, it was back.
That was the game you were following on Twitter, and I said volleyball, woo, or something, or I said you've got to look at the box score, and you said, "Oh, I've been following on Twitter," and I said, "No, that is not enough. You have to go look at the box score."
um, yeah, they were. I saw they were down 2 sets. I was like, yeah, okay, let's see. Maybe they can win a set or something. And then they storm back with, I would argue, the three best sets they've played all season.
I don't think you'd have to argue with anyone to say that.
I think, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, not to steal your thunder. It's just absolutely the three best sets they've played this season.
Um, like that was, if you take those 3 sets and put them in every single match they play,
They're
you're,
close to undefeated.
yeah.
Like, really? Like, maybe some of the teams they played at George Washington or at UVA's tournament, maybe they don't win. But certainly everybody they played in Pennsylvania in two tournaments, and certainly, the two other MAC games they played in their opening weekend. That's how good they were. To put context to what John is saying, let me find the right box score here. 3-2 win. They were great. They were the best matches of the season, and they still only won the third and fourth set 26-24, 25-22. But they took that fifth set 15-4. And UB has struggled to hit 200 this season, and I'd really love for any team to be hitting like 300. That's what I'd love to see is 280 to 300. And maybe I'm off base with that, but it's what I think. They've struggled to hit 200 this season. Their last 4 matches or so have been progressively closer and closer, and then above that mark. Their last 3 sets in this game, they hit 441, 481, and 625. Just preposterous numbers. And Akron couldn't catch them. I don't think UB ever trailed in the 4th set. They certainly never trailed in the 5th set, which they won 15-4. They've in MAC play, they found a ridiculous strength blocking, which we hoped would be a strength at the beginning of the season. They finally found it. They had to open MAC play 3 straight games with double-digit blocks, and then in the loss later this weekend to Ball State, they had 9 blocks. And all of this came with Scout McLaren to Cassie Shado. That's all we need in life, apparently, because against Akron, Cassie Shado had a career-high 22 kills. 22 kills from a middle freaking blocker against 1 error. Like, all they did was Scout McLaren do short sets to Cassie Shado over and over again, and it just kept working and never went wrong. Cassie Shado's previous career high in blocks in kills was like 12 or 14. It wasn't even close. And on top of all of that, Madison Clark had one of her better games of the season, 11 kills, 10 digs. Felicia Watkins had 10 kills. Megan Wernette was her usual self with 11 kills against 3 errors to go with 7 blocks. Like, this wasn't just Cassie Shado being totally unstoppable, even though she was. Everyone played great in this match against Akron.
Yeah, it's and going to your other point where you said you would hoped any team would hit. This team had been struggling to hit 200. In those final 3 sets, they hit 441, 481, and 625.
Yeah.
Just ludicrous numbers.
Yeah.
Cassie Shado hit 677 on the whole entire match.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing is it wasn't just only against 1 error from Shado. She got 22 kills on 31 swings. Like, I think I'm going to look it up. When Penn State played us last year, I don't think they had 2 sets above 450. They may have. I'm going to look it up right now. But like when we played a top 5 team in the country, I don't think they hit that well against us. Maybe if this composite schedule didn't ruin my life, pop up, go away. Nope, don't do that. Gosh, I generally like the new website, but sometimes I don't. Box score: Penn State last year, top team in the country, played 250, 400, and 259 in a three-set sweep. So that's the level that UB played at against Akron. Is they were markedly better against Akron than a national title contender was against them just a year and change ago. Like, teams don't hit above 400 for more than one or two matches at a time. And for UB, a team that could barely hit over 200 up until a week ago, 2 weeks ago, um, just really, I was really excited because we've seen UB get burned by adjustments out of the break after the second set a couple times this year, and that was clearly not the case in this match. And it's very encouraging. I think there's a long way to go for volleyball and for volleyball's long-term program building, and this was the signs that it's there to
Hmm.
some degree. Signs that we really, I can't overstate this. This is unlike anything we've seen from volleyball this season or last.
Yeah, it's definitely uh, s- silver linings in an otherwise kind of gray cloud of a season. Um, they're still 2-15, um, so they still have a long way to go. But I think this is hopefully a sign of where the program is, where this team is going.
Yeah.
Um, Again, keyword there is hope. Um, I'm hoping that most of this freshman class stays, and we don't have another mass exodus like there was
Yeah.
last year.
I
But
thought you were going to say Max Story, and I was like, John, cool it on the wrestling stuff.
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and all that said, can't even get that upset at the 3-0 loss to Ball State.
yeah,
It let's look at the box score really quickly.
and that was their first home match of the year.
First home match of the year. I mean, first home match of the year, they still hit 152, 321, and 194 in that, which 3 weeks ago we would have been like, that's incredible. Like, way to go. Like, they hit 209 in that, and no one hit in the negatives. So, that's another example, just like the loss to Ohio last weekend, where it's just like they played well, they just played a better team. Yeah, first home match of the year, they're charging $8. UCLA women's volleyball charges $8. And $8 in Buffalo goes a lot longer than $8 in LA, and it's just silly. That's a different conversation. But
A different conversation, but I think having that first home match this late in the season, I think that's a little bit detrimental for them being on the road for the first
absolutely.
month and a half.
I honestly don't know how many schools get, because basically through September, you're not playing home matches unless you host a tournament. And UB has hosted one in the past. Um, and I don't know. I should do some research and see how many schools actually play at home. But at the same time, they then went and played Niagara on the road, weren't able to get Canisius into their gym this year, weren't able to get someone else into the gym, until conference play. I agree that it's detrimental. I am starting to wonder how avoidable it is.
Hmm.
I mean, certainly they should be able to get one-off, like the Navy mat. Well, was Navy part of a tournament? I honestly can't remember right now. But they should be able to get one. But I wouldn't be surprised if actually very few teams are getting a home match out of the tournament part of the season. I'd be disappointed still because UB has successfully managed to host a tournament in the past. Um, I don't know. That's what I think.
Alrighty, and this week they have. Oh, they're at home this week again.
$16.
I
I
mean
don't
that.
even I don't even live in Buffalo, and I'm still a little tweaked about that.
I mean eh, that's almost like a week's worth of gas for me. And I
I
drive.
mean, I mean, all the money you're saving in alcohol going to alumni events, you can spare $16.
I mean, I
Miami and Bowling Green, that's tough. That's a tough pairing. Bowling Green is quietly very good this year. Um, kind of cut you
It's
off for
funny
saying
because
more about it.
I'm looking at the standings right now, and it's organized by MAC record,
Yep.
and as of right now, Buffalo has a better MAC record than Bowling Green.
I'm telling you that Bowling Green is good. I'm just gonna say it. Miami's undefeated. Miami's on an 11 game win streak. That game is just gonna suck. Um, Bowling Green's lost to Ohio, Northern Illinois, and Miami. Those are three historical strong programs um, in the MAC. But at one point they were uh, basically at one point this season they ripped off 8 straight wins. Before they were on an 8 game, is that 8 or 7? 7 match winning streak. Okay. All of those were on the road as well. So speak of the devil, Bowling Green played their first 6 matches of the year at home, so they were able to do 2 tournaments. So I really want to go look this stuff up now. But they won 7 on the road coming into. Oh, that's not right. One of them was home. 6 of 7 on the road coming into MAC play, and they faced Miami, Northern Illinois, and Ohio. Those are good programs. Miami and Ohio are 7-1 combined, and Northern Illinois is 4-0 combined. So they might have the 3 best teams in the conference out of their way, and now they've got Buffalo on the radar. So
It's a trap. It's a trap.
at least they're not adding Tom Brady to the roster. Poor Cleveland, just poor Cleveland. Um, that's going to be a tough weekend for the Bulls. I'll be really interested to see. I think we've had a good example, even in losses to Ohio and Ball State. And I think our first game was against Kent State. I really should know that off the top of my head, and I don't. We've seen progress, more and more strong play. 3 weeks ago, I was complaining that they could play well for 6 points at a time. They couldn't even seem to play well for a whole set at the time. Now we're getting whole sets, and we're really getting whole matches of strong play.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all right. I'm all right. I don't think it undoes what a couple weeks ago was a 7-33 career record for Blair Brown Lipsitz, but we're getting somewhere, and I don't want to look too far ahead from this season, but if we keep some people on the team and build with it, I'm feeling better, a lot better. Still not great, but a lot better than where I was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Now we can shift gears.
Talk, he says.
Yeah. So from a kind of team I'd say they have definitely been outplaying. If you take like their first kind of month and like the last few weeks they've definitely been on the upswing and been very much improving. For the next team, I'm not at the point of hitting the panic button yet. But the next few matches may or may not determine if I start hitting the panic button.
I know who you're talking about, but you got to tell our listeners who you're talking about, John. You've gone way too long without saying which team you're talking about.
Oh, the suspense is real. The team I'm referencing is the men's soccer team. Since the loss to South Florida, they're 1-1-1.
Yep.
And
we don't hate the loss to South Florida.
No,
I really don't.
Not. South Florida was a ranked team heading into the season. I believe they're still getting votes.
They might have fallen out of votes the week before our game, and then they're probably getting them again now. But either way.
Then it was beating Bonaventure 2-1, and in the lead up to that game, you and I talked as if it was going to be like a 7-0 type blowout.
It should have been.
Then a very strange, very frustrating 3-0 loss to Binghamton, which you and I, for our listeners at home or watchers at home, whatever you want to call yourself, I don't judge. We hate Binghamton.
We hate.
we hate Binghamton.
Binghamton. We hate them.
There are a lot of things on this world that I hate.
And
I'm
Binghamton is one of them.
I am generally a very disgruntled person. Binghamton, the other SUNY centers are like on top of my list of things I don't like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I don't like.
Yeah. I have learned since that game that Binghamton there's a good chance that Binghamton's a lot stronger than I gave them credit for. Doesn't change a thing of how much I hate them or how ugly that loss was. They didn't have UB didn't have anything going until the last 15 minutes of the game.
And at
Nothing.
that point, it was the
It's
game
too
was
late. The game was over.
too late.
I did talk about that last week, so I'm not going to dwell.
And then they tied Duquesne. They got a result.
They got a result, and I think Duquesne's a generally strong team. Considering we were on the road, I'm okay with the result. Considering I'm waiting for this team to bounce back still from the South Florida game, I'm less okay with only a draw.
hmm And now the next two matches this week is a big deal. It's at Akron.
Yeah.
And this is what we had talked about. This was the collision course that started 3 years ago when Russell Cicerone was a freshman. This is what everything that has come before. This is what it was building up to, was the showdown with Akron.
Showdown with Akron and Russell Cicerone's senior year. This is why I was so overjoyed when they outperformed in the tournament last year, because this is our year. This is the best chance we're going to have for at least 2 years, at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cicerone's the best player we're going to have for a long time. Years have come into this, and they hit that loss to South Florida, and then they were pulled completely out of their element against Bonaventure, lost their focus, did not dictate. You know, I think Binghamton's a better team than I've given them credit for, but UB should absolutely be able to dictate their style of play against Binghamton if they were able to do so against someone like Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, I'm not as upset about Duquesne. I think Duquesne's a better team than Binghamton, and so I'm somewhat pleased by that. UB has this tendency under Riddle that sometimes they fall into a style of play which is capitalize on your chances and don't worry if the other team has the ball a lot more than you do. It's what they did against Canisius, and I don't mind it, and I don't mind it as a strategy against Akron. But it did happen against Duquesne, and that has me a little wary because I think that UB has the skill and the speed to try to dictate play a little bit against Akron, and it seems like they didn't do that too much against Duquesne. But this is the game. You know, this is the game that has been building for a long time. Akron's still the favorite, absolutely, but this is the best chance UB's had to knock them off since the last time they faced before last year. The last time they faced in the MAC final, 2007 or 6, I think.
And Akron has looked
Beatable.
very beatable. I mean, they lost to SMU
4-3.
4-3 in overtime.
Yeah.
And I mean, SMU was not receiving any votes.
I will say this. Other than Adam Najem, Akron's Ben Lunt in net is probably at his best their second best player. When he's at his best, he might be one of the best goaltenders in college soccer. But he's had a number of games this year where he lets up a lot, and things just find their way through him. So that could be useful.
Heading into the Akron game, SMU had only beaten Incarnate Word and Western.
We know them. And what's the other one? Sorry, I cut you
off. Western Illinois.
Yeah.
Those are the only two wins SMU had. Then they go in and drop 4 goals on Akron.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's something there. You know, there's something there.
It's just, can they capitalize on it?
Can they capitalize, you know? Yeah,
And then the game
Go ahead.
The game that even, you know, Akron being Akron is this week. But then next week is West Virginia. West Virginia is ranked higher than Akron is.
Yep. I
Uh,
still think Akron's a better team, but West Virginia lost their first game of the season and has not slowed down. Like, I don't know. It's UB has it, but it's not just Akron who also has it. West Virginia, Western Michigan have it too. And it just feels like, I this Duquesne game, which we should talk about because it happened in this week. This freaking composite schedule pop up. I want to look at the box score. God, you suck. Thank you. Joe Kuda, 5 saves in double overtime. Way to go, Joe. Um, you know, uh,
that's a very intense picture of him.
it is. He's probably yelling at his defense. Not that they're bad. He just does a lot of yelling, which is good. Goalies need to be vocal.
What
UB had
concerns me,
chances in this one. UB had
they only had 2 shots on goal.
yeah, but that's the thing though. That's what they do. They plan to capitalize on their best chances. And if you remember the Akron regular season game last year, they had a couple of great chances where Cicerone, other than the penalty kick he earned, they had a couple of great chances in the second half. 70 83rd minute, header shot by Buffalo Cicerone, Russell wide, close on the cross from 14. I don't have video, but from what I can tell on Twitter, that was probably the best chance of the game for either team in the 83rd minute. And that's not a shot on goal, but if you've got a header, that's not like it's a header not being on goal is less like, oh my God, you couldn't get it on net than just a general shot from the top of the box going high or wide. My concern from this game is that it's not a ringing. They didn't dominate possession. They didn't control the pace of the game. It's not the ringing this team has woken up that I was looking for after that loss to Binghamton. And, that I frankly expected after South Florida. And I said that a little bit last week. I expected after South Florida, this team would be like, we know we're a good team. We went down to the Heat, didn't play well. Let's regroup. We've got 3 winnable games between now and Akron. Let's get going. And it very well could happen. They could say, all right, it's Akron time to nut up. And they're going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. But I haven't seen, and you said before the show that, and we knew this. We knew that the first 7 games were easier games. We knew that they weren't tough opponents. I'm okay with that because of the way that some tough road trips kind of stalled the momentum on the season last year. And I'm okay with that. But, there's a lot going on, and it's time. I have no other way to put it. It's time for them to play their best soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see if it comes or not. And the thing is, they can't just play their best soccer against Akron and then kind of play a bit and get into the MAC tournament, because there's someone of Akron, Bowling Green, Western Michigan, West Virginia, Buffalo will not make the MAC tournament. One of those teams isn't going to make it. And with a MAC schedule that only has 5 games, it could be anyone.
Plus a random match against Oral Roberts thrown in there.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That'll happen. Hopefully Cicerone scores 4 goals and moves up in the record books, basically. It's time to play your best soccer. It's time to play your best soccer for a month. I think. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. We'll have video of the next few games, so we'll be able to say more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like you. I'm not ready to press the panic button, and I think that this team can play very well and still leave opportunities on the table that will really change the course of the season. It's not just about playing well. It's about, as soccer is always going to be, catching a little bit of luck, making plays that the other guys don't make. And really, I'm looking for this group to dictate play, because they can do it, and they can do it against Akron, and we haven't seen it in a couple games now. Other than some stretches against Bonaventure, I really haven't seen them dictate play like I know they're capable of.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
But, hooray for a shutout. Another shutout for Kuda. I don't want to sound too grumpy. Like I don't want to sound grumpy. It's just a fact. They're going to need to be better than what they've done the last few games to meet the goals that they have for themselves. And maybe that doesn't change what you were going to say next anyway.
No, I completely lost my train of thought. So
I think you were switching to cross country.
yes, I was switching to cross country. Um, so the disappointing thing about cross country is that they don't have a ton of meets in the
Mm-hmm.
fall, or they don't this year. And they were at the Paul Short Invite down in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. That was this past weekend. And they were in top. They were top 20. Both men and women, I believe, were top 20.
Yes, sir.
Um, Out of 45 teams, which is good.
Yeah.
Uh, Andrew Burge led the way. Oh, crud. Oh, boy, I made a mistake.
What'd you do?
I spelled his last name wrong in the post.
Oh, my goodness. I'm
Uh,
putting on a little bit of sarcastic humor into it, but like actually, for our one viewer right now, clap clap. Um, we really take pride in making sure that we spell names correctly. It's my personal bugaboo, and John will fix it now, and probably three people in the whole world will notice, except for all the people that we're telling right now that we spelled it wrong when they watch it in the future. Um, Andrew Burge, yeah, I kind of highlighted him. I remember talking about him at the beginning of this year as someone who could step up and be a leading runner in the pack, and I'm pretty sure this is the second meet of the year that he's been in that top spot for UB, and I'm glad to see it. He's run with consistency. He's in his career, and I'm happy to see what he's doing. Couple of nice, pleasant surprises from the men is that Frankie File, who feels like an ageless wonder. I honestly don't know when his eligibility runs out at this point. He's listed as a senior. You get into funny things where like indoor, outdoor track, and cross country are three separate sports, so you can run through your eligibility differently in any individual one. But File feels like he's been around forever. He's a local guy. UB always has a number of local guys, in addition to having to recruit a lot from New York State. But he's a local guy who was decently good. I shouldn't say decently good. He's very good for a Western New York runner, but didn't light the world on fire. Has come in and had a pretty strong career for UB, and now at the Paul Short Invite, which is their first big meet of the year, he finished second for the Bulls, which is really great to see. Other names that we kind of expect after the last couple of years: Brian Crimmins, Justin Van Epps, Craig Kaiser. What we expect. Jack Jibb is there. It's good to see him. I hope he'll be more consistent in the top 7 this year. Caleb Covell, though, freshman, right in that mix as well. Real tight pack. Burge was 24:39, File 24:56, and then 3:45, Crimmins, Van Epps, Covell, 25:09, 25:08, 25:09, 25:09. We've talked about tight packs long enough and frequently enough, John, that I don't think we need to rehash it anymore. I fear that some of our viewers will just think that that's the only thing you ever need to do in cross country is finish close to each other. The way that we talk about it.
well, it's great if you finish close to each other, but if you all finish, in the back of the pack, then it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter much.
But I'll still point out that they did well. I'm glad to see a few things. I'm glad to see names like Crimmins and Van Epps and Burge still play a big role in the scoring. I'm really pumped to see File play a role. If he's one of our scoring 7 at MAC play or MAC championships, I'll feel great. I would not have expected it preseason, and I'm just glad to see it. Excited to see Jack Jibb in the top 7. Would love to see him a little faster, but he is only a sophomore. Not sure what to expect from Caleb Covell. Don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Could be Koval.
I found something very interesting.
Shoot.
I was just looking through the men's cross country roster,
Mhm.
and at the very bottom row, where it has Tyler Sheving, Dylan Servos, and Justin Van Epps,
Yep.
right in a row, they're headshots. Sheving is wearing the old Bull Buffalo polo. Servos is wearing the new Buffalo word mark with the new bull. Van Epps is wearing the NYBI paragraph polo shirt. It's very interesting to see how much it's changed. I mean, Chevy and I were in physics together freshman year, and we know each other personally. So he came in. We were freshmen at the same time in 2012.
Hmm.
So just seeing the evolution of things just in my time before I start getting all nostalgic. Uh,
Well, thank you for
Anywho,
that addition to the podcast.
yeah, that was my addition. That was my addition to the cross country
Great.
section.
This makes me feel really good about what you're going to be able to contribute to the women's cross country team section.
I, well, seeing as Sade Henry didn't run, I can't make like a goon reference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be probably useless, but that's okay.
Okay. That's
It's okay.
okay. Goon 2 is coming out. I don't know if it's done. I don't know if it's out yet, but it's coming.
I did see that. Speaking of goon, at the end of whatever you're talking about with cross country, I do have a little nitpicky type rant that I need.
Whatever you're talking about, we've gone from I'll probably be useless to whatever you're talking about.
Well, you mentioned goon, and it made me think of something else, and
All right, give me.
it is Mac related. It is Mac
Oh,
related.
excellent. Um, Pretty similar story on the women's side, which I'm glad to see. The thing is, the women have a little bit more scholarship diversity, which is also good to see. Uh, Much like last year, freshman stepping up, Stephanie Ward has now led the Bulls two straight meets, and she's now 2 meets in a row run a faster time than any Bulls run in a long time at these courses. She was the 55th finisher, but was a full 27 seconds ahead of second place finisher Morgan Mahoney. Pleasant little surprise for me that Morgan is up at the number 2 spot. I expected her to play a role in the top 7 this year, but to see her up at number 2 is great. After that, some names we expect to hear from: Rachel Barrich, Corinne Burchard, Megan Hopkins, Charlotte Malloy. All those names are people we expect in the top 7. We'll see what happens. John mentioned that Sade Henry is not. We haven't seen her yet. I can only assume that she's injured. Might be a bad assumption. Maybe I shouldn't assume. But we haven't seen her. She was pretty much a standout for the Bulls last year. We expect her to be a standout, and she was. If she's injured and she becomes a late season addition to the team, that's awesome. If she's injured and we get another year out of her at the end of her career, I am also okay with that. I just hope that she's healthy. We'll see. But overall, not a bad race at all from either team. Both teams did beat a handful of regionally ranked groups. The regional rankings are fun just to see you be on a rankings list. They're not terribly useful because no other MAC teams are in our rankings, in the Northeast rankings. All the other MAC teams are in the Great Lakes or the upper Midwest or whatever it's called. And because of that, the other MAC teams see each other a lot, and then they are ranked against each other a lot. And we don't really see them at all. They're not even on our radar until MAC championships. But we'll see. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens to the regional rankings this week, just because both teams beat a couple teams that, whether they were ahead of us or not, were in the rankings. And so hopefully we'll move up. The Paul Short Invitational the last couple of years has really been a chance for UB to put together some big runs. This year was a little bit less decisive and exciting than the last couple of years, but it was still a strong performance by both groups. Really excited to see some of these names: Frankie File, Morgan Mahoney, up in there. That is really exciting to me when we think about depth. Last couple of years, someone from the scoring 5 on the men's side especially has come up, dinged up, and moved around. Happened on the women's side that last year too, or around pre-national. Somebody, I honestly can't remember right now, kind of fell off and didn't run at MAC championships. So to see people like that, who I would have thought would be kind of in fighting for the 5th or 6th spot, running up at number 2, is really encouraging. That's what I have to say. That's my whatever about cross country. So it's all you, John. I'm very excited for this.
Okay, so this is not cross country related. This is actually men's soccer related. I forgot to mention this before we moved on earlier. And this is going out again to the Akron Rowdies, or whatever the hell their student section calls themselves. And they sent out a tweet with a thing for something for the soccer game. Um, it was like a poorly made like thing you'd see made in like Microsoft Publisher or Word or something, and it said Buffalo is in Canada, and it's like I know they live in like the industrial hellscape that is Akron, Ohio, but Canada isn't. I love Canada. Canada is like one of the most wonderful places on the earth. I love going over to Canada, and they act as if that's an insult to us. Like, oh, Buffalo's in Canada, her. Um, it's just something that really annoys me. That's the only thing Ohio people from Ohio and Michigan can come up with is like, oh, Buffalo's in Canada. Okay, great. I love Canada.
Yeah, it's a hell of a
Uh,
lot better than New York State. Like, that's how I feel about Ontario.
I'd say
I
it's a hell of a lot better than Ohio,
that too.
especially with Akron being the meth capital of Ohio.
Mm,
I would take Ontario over that any day of the week.
yeah.
And some of the
Um,
most pleasant people I have met outside of in my travels for work, I've gone down south basically every month for the past 4 months. I've met everyone down south is really pleasant. Everyone I've met in Canada or that's from Canada has been extremely pleasant.
I will say this is a history lesson for you, John. When the AK Rowdies originally debuted the Buffaloes in Canada chant, True Blue was just, or the forerunner to True Blue. They probably was probably early True Blue years and not Mighty Maniacs years. Didn't know what to do with the chant. Like they just didn't know how to react because Buffalo's not in Canada. And so they just chanted that Akron's in Ohio. That was the only pushback that the AK Rowdies got was
I
being reminded that Akron's in Ohio. And to some extent, it draws on what you're saying, which is like, yeah, like Canada's great and Ohio's not. Um, so
like
this
I
isn't a good place to start. But on the other hand, like I don't even think it was born out of like Ohio sucks. So let's remind you that you're from a sucky place. It was born out of like we don't know what to say, so we're just gonna say a fact and uh, and go from there.
I mean I don't get it. It's like you can't think of anything more creative than saying that Buffalo is in Canada. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, it
I
just makes me think like, oh, the Akron geography department is very poor, and that the
all
people
right.
in Akron have never looked at a map.
I'm gonna look up National Geography B winners and see if any of them
Are-
are from Ohio ever. Um, okay, National Geography B, Wikipedia. Let's see if they have a list. State national. What? Who was on a national level? Same. This is like gonna make for a terrible podcast. Um, I just want winners. That's all I want. Um, I'm not gonna be able to find. Oh, here we go. List stuff. If you Google the word list, you might get more lists. Uh, no, I'm not gonna get it. Oh, here we go. This might be it. All right. This starts at 2006 and is going backwards, so hopefully no Ohioan has won since 2006. But dating back to 1989, between 1989 and 2006, no Ohioan ever won the National Geographic B, and that certainly covers all possible Ohio-based Akron students.
Hmm.
Um, the thing is, I there are things that I very much like about the AK Rowdies. They're the only dedicated um, fan section that like has anything like True Blue, and I don't care what any Ohio fan says. You guys suck. Um, um, I like them. I like Ian Tyack, who has now graduated, but is a great guy on Twitter. Definitely a must follow if you're interested in Akron soccer or just keeping tabs vindictively on them, as I am. Um, And part of me really likes the Buffaloes in Canada chant just because it's so effective. But part of me wonders if they actually think the Buffaloes in Canada. Part of me is also glad because at least it's someone in this world who doesn't confuse us for New York City people. That's nice because I hate New York City just as much as I hate Akron.
Eh.
Uh, I don't know. I just can't ever get over just the kind of confusion to which the only response was to say that Akron's in Ohio. Like that's all I can ever think about it is that yeah, Akron's in Ohio. Like I guess if you're going to be confused about Buffalo, that's fine because you don't need to know about other states. It's not as critical, but hopefully like if you don't know that Akron's in Ohio and you've come to Buffalo to cheer as they often do, like you need to know that Akron's in Ohio in order to get back home. Or else you might like end up in like West Virginia and Kentucky and like not be sure where you're going anymore. So unless you hire a bus driver who knows that Akron's in Ohio and that Buffalo's not in Canada, which I guess is what they
I mean,
must do.
unless
That
of
that
course
must
they
be what they
hire
do.
the Kent State equipment truck driver, in which case they're
Yeah,
they're in rough.
they're in rough shape. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know.
okay, so
Oh,
my
you think we should end the show?
yeah, I think that's an
John
real.
wants to be in
I
bed by
think that's
9, so I guess we should end the show.
yeah, I think that's enough rambling. So yeah, I want to be in bed by 9. I have incoherent ramblings. I'm going senile at 22 years old.
Hmm, that's concerning. Um,
Eh.
we should do it this weekend bowl. I can finally use this composite schedule that's been ruining my life tonight. Um, hasn't actually. I've just it's gotten in my way twice. Don't care about fall ball and softball. I just don't. Thursday, women's soccer, Ohio at Buffalo. Must win because I dislike Ohio. Friday, all sorts of things. Men's soccer, Buffalo at Akron. True Blue is going to be there. Kick some ass. Miami at Buffalo in volleyball. That's going to be a tough one. Buffalo at Navy in women's tennis, Navy Invitational. I'm looking forward to some more good news from women's tennis. I think this is going to be a year full of good news from women's tennis. Saturday, Kent State at Buffalo. Oh, that's football. We don't talk about football. Bowling Green at Buffalo in women's volleyball. That's going to be another tough one. More good news from women's tennis at Navy. Sunday, Buffalo at Kent State in women's soccer. Tough, but like I said, I really think the matchup works. I think UB's the best equipped team in the conference to match up with Kent State. I really think that. And then women's tennis at Navy. John, I will be in New York City next weekend, so we might have another Monday show on our hands. Maybe I'll be free. Maybe I'll be free at 9:30 at our usual time on Sunday. Do you get Monday off of work?
No.
Oh, I get Monday off of work. Which is
What's Monday? Is it?
Indigenous Peoples Day. If I want to put on my my bleeding heart liberal hat.
No,
Columbus Day.
private industry does not recognize Stanley does not recognize any of those holidays. So
Capitalism, man.
so
Now I'm the senile one ranting incoherently.
uh,
Anyway, show's up in the air. Honestly, we might have to find time to do it Sunday because I think my train back to DC is like 6 to 10 on Monday. We'll find a way to do it. I just don't know when it'll be. It's gonna be different. We'll figure it out. We have extremely loyal viewers, and I'm sorry to let you all down. But with that, I'm Matt Gritzmacher. I'm joined by John McWhinney. If you care about UB sports and not about the AK Rowdies, you tuned out long ago. But we appreciate you anyway. We are from UB Bull Run. This is Blue Bowl TV. This is the Olympic Rundown on Blue Bowl TV from UB Bull Run. Have a great week. Go Bulls.